If I don't have 90%, 95%, 90 to 95% of myself, who am I as an African? Who am I as a Mijikenda woman? Who am I as a Mwatangari? Who am I as a Kenyan? These things matter more because of the identity, because of the ability to say, no, I am not a minority. No, I know who I am. No, I know where I come from. No, I know my lineage. No, I come from royalty. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is The Village. Just think of your village back home in Africa. So, we're in modern day times. We're trying to evolve with times. And so I was thinking, why don't we just have an online village where we can come and talk about all matters to do with African culture, African heritage, who we are as a people, and some of the things that we actually perhaps ought to talk about, but we feel like sometimes we are far away from home, that we cannot, sort of like tap into that community and talk. So I was like, let's do this, why not? And I want to present our topic for today. So, whew, fire, fire, fire. So today we're talking about fighting monoculture in Africa as we face globalization. Fighting monoculture in Africa as we face globalization. They say we are in now globalization 4.0, meaning that we are in the digital era, digital space. And I guess the main aim of this is to build a global village. And so as we build a global village, there's this constant narrative around monoculture and us becoming, adopting to one culture, and there's so much to talk about, about that. And if you want to join the conversation, rather, today we're going to talk about what is monoculture. It's important to understand the definition of monoculture. We're also going to look about what is this idea or this ideology, what is it really about? And then I thought, I am Kenyan, so I thought, let me go back to and look at the constitution, because the constitution is the one that sort of like guides us as a people in Kenya, how we live, how we carry ourselves and whatnot. So I was like, let me just go and tap into that and see what it really says about we as a people. And perhaps maybe this will give me a small idea of how maybe Africa, also the rest of Africa, sort of like views this matter, especially from, like a constitutional perspective, and, and then what is the way forward? What is the way forward now that, globalization is here, that this ideology around monoculture is here as well? What is the way forward? So, interesting conversation. If you're really keen, please feel free to join the conversation. Do leave a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe so that you're part of the community. And I think above everything else, be sure to like the video and share it with someone so that we can be able to build a community and we can be able to talk about more topics, especially around African culture, African heritage, African traditions. Okay. So what is monoculture? So I went to Google and I saw this definition from psychology.iresearchnet.com. And it was a brilliant article. I'll leave the link in the description box so that you guys can read more about it. If you'd like to read, and you can come and give your perspective of the article as well. So what is monoculture? And the word monoculture is applied in different segments or different topics. It could be agriculture, it could be science, it could be sociology. And so we're talking about monoculture, especially in the context of culture and heritage and building societies. So the definition here says the term monoculture is used in several fields to refer to a single homogeneous culture that de-emphasizes diversity. Under this monocultural perspective, dominant Western cultural values, expectations, behaviors, and definitions are presumed to be superior to the values of other cultures. Whew! Honestly, I saw this definition and I was like, wow, 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 wow. Wow. I think the two things that stuck out for me, especially when I was reading the definition, is the de-emphasization of diversity. I think it's pretty obvious and clear that we are a diverse people. Even I am not the same with my siblings, like even I as an African, I am not the same with other Africans. Like we are all unique in the way we think, in the way we process information, in the way we carry ourselves. And so the idea that we want to suppress that, or the idea that we want to de-emphasize on that and emphasize on just being one homogeneous society, is something I don't fully understand. I don't fully understand. And then the second thing that also stood out for me when I was reading the definition was the part of, who is really on the driver's seat in terms of saying, no, we are just going to de-emphasize on that and we're going to emphasize on this, and everyone else should just come and take this. So I think this really marries well with what I really want to talk about, and that's the second part. What is this all about? What is this ideology really all about? I think it's really about power and control. Above everything else, I think this ideology really is about power and control and the dynamics of it. And I say this because when I was reading the article, there was this specific part that really caught my attention, and it said, underlying this Eurocentric ideology is the assumption that people from minority and marginalized groups ought to assimilate their behaviors, attitudes, beliefs, values, language, and perception to the dominant group culture, that is, European and Americans, in order to attain uniformity and unity. Implied in this paradigm is that there is something inadequate about the minority groups, culture, and behaviors. I took some time to really try and process this. And as it says, as it really talks about like power and control and who really is on the driver's seat to try and control the narrative, I started to really look at myself and I asked myself, is there something wrong in we Africans taking up the Western ideals? Is there really something wrong with that? Is there something wrong with us accepting, let's say, them saying that the minority groups, there's something inadequate in them, and that the Eurocentric ideas are somewhat, superior? Is there something wrong in that? What do you think, guys? Is there something wrong in that? That we as Africans accept that is the norm? Is there something wrong in that? I am asking this question because I don't know if you guys saw my last video, I don't know if you guys saw my last video, but this week I did a video responding to Al Jazeera because they had posted this great segment talking about should African artifacts be returned to Africa. And that question in itself is really condescending to me. And I was like, well, I guess it's still a conversation that we ought to have. So just put your emotions aside and be objective and come to the table ready to have a deep conversation, because to me, that's how I eventually took it. I said, okay, it's an invitation to have a deep conversation and to be able to sort of like give my take, give our take as Africans as to yes or no. One thing that stood out in that segment was that close to 95% of African artifacts lie in European and American museums. And so essentially what that means is 90 to 95% of our culture, our heritage, our identity, who we are as a people, is still in the hands of the Western world. And we all know what happened with history is history. You cannot change it. And the truth is, we all know what happened in the past, in the era of colonialism, in the era of slavery. And the idea that we cannot give this up, this culture, if you don't have this culture, if I don't have 90%, 95%, 90 to 95% of myself, yeah, who am I as an African? Who am I as a Mijikenda woman? Who am I as a Mwatsangari? Who am I as a Kenyan, These things matter more because of the identity, because of the ability to say, no, I am not a minority. No, I know who I am. No, I know where I come from. No, I know my lineage. No, I come from royalty, But if 90 to 95% of my culture is still in the hands, of the West, and then the West is coming to us and telling us, oh, no, you're absolutely minority. We don't need that much diversity. We're just good, we should just embrace this homogeneous culture. And this narrative is coming from you. Then it really, really confuses me. It really confuses me because it's more like saying that there are people who are more human than others. It's more like saying that there are people who belong more to the world than others. I don't understand how we can divorce that ideology from the past, the harsh realities of the past. And the harsh realities of the past, I'm talking about colonialism, I'm talking about slavery, that, gave birth to horrible things like human zoos, where African ended up in cages in zoos, where sciences like phrenology, eugenics, came into place and say, oh, no, slavery is justified. We are justified to say that this one is less and this one is more. Yes, we have evolved and we have overcome such hard times, but then I guess this then really speaks to the concept of neocolonialism, where some of these really hard ideas have evolved into something like this. What is wrong? What is wrong in celebrating diversity? Help me understand. What is wrong in saying they matter too? We Africans matter too. That you're going to give us our artifacts, that we're going to start rebuilding our culture, that we're going to start appreciating that they had kingdoms too, that were very sophisticated and very, vital to the existence of humanity today. What is wrong in acknowledging that and saying, yes, we're in the modern times, but you can evolve with the modern times to celebrate who we are, and we're also going to evolve in the modern times to celebrate who we are. I want to understand what is the problem with that? Where do we have to take just one single idea and conform to it? And I think we as Africans also need to ask ourselves these questions, because we need to ask ourselves, why is it that we are okay with just running real quick and saying, yeah, I will pick that. There is nothing wrong with picking new ideals, but I don't think that should be at the expense of what you are. It should not be to sacrifice who you are and leave that and shun it and see this is not good, this is primitive, this is out of date. Evolve it. Yeah. And I'm saying this because I really needed a compass. I needed a compass for myself and for this conversation as well. And, I wanted to understand, what do we, for instance, as Kenyans believe? And maybe this would be like a very small, minute portion that maybe would give me a glimpse of what maybe other African countries are thinking. Just maybe. And so I turned to the Constitution, and I wanted to know, what does the Constitution of Kenya say about culture? So if you go to the Constitution, I call this section. So section 11 is the one that talks about culture. And the first portion of it says, this Constitution recognizes culture as the foundation of the nation and as the cumulative civilization of the Kenyan people and nation. And boom, I think that really opened my mind, because the way I read this is that even the Constitution of Kenya recognizes that the foundation of Kenya is built with these small segments within Kenya. And the segments of the small segments of Kenya emanate from tribes, and tribes emanate, from clans, and all that. And so it also appreciates that this is the foundation of the nation, and it also appreciates that this is the cumulative civilization of the Kenyan people and the nation. And so I know in 2007 we had a really hard time as Kenyans, because there was a terrible tribal war that, elections happened. We went into a really terrible tribal war that cost so many of our loved ones, and it was just a hard time that led to a lot of us millennials and Gen Zs to say, I really don't want this. This is toxic. I understand that part, but I guess the other part of it, to say that you're just going to abandon that, like your tribe, you're going to abandon this idea of you having culture and this idea of you having some heritage, I guess then that means, as I read the Constitution, is we are also slowly erasing the foundation of the nation and what really defines our civilization as a people. And so when I start to think like that, I'm asking myself, so if we erase this, then what are we going to take up? I guess then we're going to take up the monoculture ideas that are coming from different parts of the world, right? And what does that mean? I guess for me, I feel like that means it means that you're becoming a shell of a person, and you're trying to look for these things, tap into these things to fill that shell. I just don't know. I don't find that to be empowering. I think empowerment is when you find ways to evolve what you have and make it better, and pick the worldview to inform you so that you are at par with the rest of the world, and you're able to tackle challenges that might come and might affect you, that are beyond that, you know, what you define to be like internal factors. So these are external factors from the worldview and whatnot. But you're able to say, when the world says this, then you're able to stand firm and say, but no, this is not who I am as a person. This is not what I stand for. You know, that you're not just being swayed with the wind. I don't know if you guys feel me. But even as I talk about evolving the culture, I think this second portion, the second part of that section of the Constitution, really made me think like this, because it says the state shall promote all forms of national and cultural expressions through literature, the arts, traditions, celebrations, science, communication, information, mass media, publications, libraries, and other cultural heritage. And it goes on to say so many things around this. And so I guess when I look at this, I see so much potential for us as a people, as Africans, to go back and tap into that culture and that heritage, to even create opportunities for ourselves, to create jobs for ourselves, to create a different narrative for ourselves, and really rebuild the civilization that was dismantled, you know? But I think I understand how difficult this is, because all we've ever known is you go to school, you grow up, you go to school, you study, you get a degree, and you go to an office and you work. And it's really, really difficult to get out of that box and say, I want to go back to the village. I want to really understand. I am passionate about arts. I am passionate about literature. I am passionate about communication. I am passionate about being a content creator. How can I go back and start tapping into my culture and trying to evolve it and do things differently, you know? For instance, I was talking to a friend the other day, and he has decided he is doing music professionally, but he's doing indigenous Mijikenda music. And I didn't know we have close to 20 unique Mijikenda genres, music genres, and each of them are unique. And I was like, this is an opportunity for us to document this. This is an opportunity for us to create incredible, amazing Kenyan music, especially when in this day and age where everybody is like, oh, Kenyan music just like lacks originality. There's always this criticism. But how do we find that if we cannot find ourselves and what defines who we are as a people? We all love Nigerian music, incredible music. We all love bongo flavor, you know, but it really taps into the culture and the people they are. And they have found a way to evolve their cultures, that now they're massive collaborations. Even from the West, people are taking it and they're saying, oh, I love this tune, it's so unique, you know. And so I think I just want to end and say, so where do we move on from here? And say, I think if you lose yourself, if you lose what really defines you, if you lose what really defines who you are, then you're nothing but just a shell that is existing, that is going to be swayed by the wind that is coming. And I think this idea of monoculture is something that we need to talk more about. We need to be able to understand, because monoculture cuts across so many things. It cuts across currently how we are farming, how we are developing technologies as Africans, digital products, the way we are developing, you know, products. It cuts across fashion, you know, it cuts across food, you know. These are all areas we could explore. There's so much gold, you know, that is before us. And I think because of this idea of monoculture and just being homogeneous and going with the Western trends and whatnot, it's really blinded us, that we are not able to see the beauty and the amazing things that are before us. So I think there is nothing wrong with embracing globalization, but as we embrace globalization, can we allow that to evolve our cultures? And we also take a moment to go and celebrate who we are and take who we are to the world as well. I think if globalization is really meant to be building a global village, then let's build a global village we are all happy and proud of. Let's build a global village that is inclusive. Let's build a global village that truly celebrates humanity. Let's build a global village that truly says, this is what humanity is. This is how humanity is complex. This is how humanity is so different. And it is still beautiful, and find ways to coexist and be proud of who we are truly. But not this monologue of just saying, no, that is not it, and this is it. This cannot be it. No. I don't think that is the right way. But anyway, these are just my views and my opinions. And, we talk about deep seated issues here. And so I want to be sure that I'm creating a safe community for people to come and have candid conversations. So if you feel that you're really tempted to respond and you feel like you're going to be disrespectful, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Be objective. Just put your emotions aside for a minute and come, with an open mind to learn and to relearn, Come with an open mind to say that, okay, maybe I don't know everything. Come with an open mind to be able to have a conversation, to listen and to be heard, Let's be civilized. I know even in as much as I'm saying this, there's still gonna be people in the comment section who are just gonna be nasty, but please don't do it. If you're just tempted to do that, don't do it. Don't troll, please. Yeah. So anyway, it's an open forum, an open space for all of us to have conversations, for all of us to challenge each other, to learn new things. So be sure to join the community by subscribing. Until next time, cheers.